all the shooting.
All of that, and we're still only at the halfway mark of the race as another identical loop of the same distance still remained before we could crown the winners of the Ford Parys 400. True to the spirit of cross-country racing, the Ford Parys 400 was a tough race with many crews forced to throw in the towel. But as has become the norm, let's count them down and tell you about the trials and tribulations of the ones who did reach the end, especially the ones who ended up spraying the bubbly from the winner's podium. Class G stalwarts and current champions Werner and Leon Mostert very nearly didn't make it to the podium, but the brothers showed their class and drove to yet another podium finish, albeit somewhat off their usual pace. They were, however, happy to collect the points that came along with their third-place finish. Ahead of the Mosterts, Christo Rose and Honor Olivier were quite happy to finish the race in a fine second position after avoiding most of the obstacles out there. They were happy with the result, but not nearly as happy as newcomers to the sport, Simon Murray, who was heard saying that cross-country racing is the best thing he has ever done, and he has done quite a bit. Murray has the services of the very experienced Kim Bergman reading the notes from the passenger seat of the Total Exilium Can-Am Maverick, and it clearly paid off as he claimed victory in only his third ever cross-country event. On to the bigger cars in the special vehicle category, where the remaining 4 V8 monsters were still battling it out for the coveted podium spots. When the dust finally settled and the times were added, it was Sandra and Jaco Jonk who returned to Parys in their Total Agri Porter with the total time of 3 hours and 55 minutes, enough to claim a podium finish in Class A of the special vehicle category. Despite finishing second on this occasion, there was more than enough reason to celebrate at the Tim Howes and Gary Campbell corner of DSP. The hard-working crew reaped the rewards for all their efforts by clinching the 2020 Special Vehicle Championship in the process, and that with 1 round still to go. Someone that knows all about winning Special Vehicle Championships is Lance Trethui and Adrian Roots. It was Trethui's first race back since 2019, and what a way to make a comeback. A dominant start-to-finish victory for the big dog once again.
Yeah, it was hard work today. I mean, it was very, very hot in the car. And Adrian had a hard day in the nav seat today, and it was tricky because it was so hard packed and slippery. So the whole day he spent catching the car, but yeah, it was good. We had fun.
Trethui then won the battle of the Ford Parys 400, but Howes was crowned winner of the overall war, and the Yonks took third on the day. And a great first victory for Simon Murray ahead of Christo Rose and Werner Mostert in the ultra-competitive Class Gs. Let's shift our attention now to the production cars category, and more specifically, the raging battle between the Toyotas of the Horn brothers from Malalan and Gary Berthold, the Nissan of title hopefuls Terence Marsh, and the flock of Fords driven by Van Tonder, Koch and Prinsloo. Van Tonder and Berthold slid out of contention on the day, whilst Marsh still had his eye on the Class D title, but could only manage 4th place come the end of the day. Despite their lack of 5th and 6th gear inside the gearbox of the Malalan Toyota Racing Hilux, brothers Johan and Werner accumulated points to come home with 3rd place, and who knew at this stage how valuable those points would turn out to be. This meant then that 2 NWM Ford Rangers were the ones fighting it out for Class T honours towards the end of the race, with one being occupied by father and son, Malcolm and Frans Koch, and the other by Vos Prinsloo and Andre Vermeulen. It was a great fight, and one that saw a new winner in the form of Prinsloo, who was absolutely ecstatic after crossing the finish line with a lead of just over half a minute over the similar crew, driven by the Kochs.
Ek dink ons het 'n kans om dalk bietjie op te skuif tweede plek toe. En ja, Malcolm is 'n goeie competitor en hy het self hard gery. Maar ja, dit is ons dag vandag en ons het hom gewen.
All that remained now was to determine the order of Class FIA and the overall winners. Brian Baragwanath looked like an overall race winner early on in the day, and the former Dakar quad bike racer was most certainly one to be feared in the near future. But on this day, he slid down the order due to getting stuck in the mud early on loop number 2 and had to be content with a 9th place finish in Class FIA. 2 more punches also didn't help Lance Woolridge's cause and forced the Ford Castrol Ranger down the order into 8th, just losing out on a better position to the Alfa Renault Duster driven by Johan van Staden, who had his fair share of problems to blame for his 7th position in Class FIA. If and but, and would have and could have are some of the words one cannot and should never use in racing. But if Shamir Variawa didn't have 3 punches. He surely could have and would have finished better than his eventual 6th place. 5th place was filled by Clint Weston, who drove well to climb the leaderboard and to just finish 1 minute behind 4th place, Janelle de Villiers. De Villiers, on the other hand, had a blistering second loop of the race and even went into the overall lead of the virtual lead on the standings. But no less than 3 flat tyres put an end to his winning aspirations. And after losing some time on the first of the day's loops, the Ford Castrol Racing Ranger of Gareth Woolridge really put the hammer down on the second loop to climb the leaderboard and claim a well-earned podium finish in Class FIA in what is essentially still their stock Class T racing car. A great drive by the young Italian. And then there were 2, Henk Ladergan and Chris Visser. The Toyota Gazoo Racing SA Hilux versus the Total Exilium one. It was the young and current champion Henk Ladergan who started the second loop with a mere 19-second advantage over the older and former champion Visser. This is the sort of racing that makes you drive on the limit, and it's when you're driving on this limit that things happen. In this case, things did happen. Ladergan got 2 flat tyres and Visser didn't. This gave the well-deserved victory to the big farmer, who finally managed to end the youngsters' winning streak in 2020. And here it is, confirmation of Visser's 1 minute and 36-second victory over Ladergan, with Woolridge claiming the final podium position. And the name of Prinsloo appears at the top of the Class T scoreboard for the first time, ahead of Malcolm Koch and the Horns from Malalan. It might have been alcohol-free bubbly, but the taste would still have been pretty satisfying for Visser, who claimed the final win of 2020.
Yeah, I must say we had a clean run the whole day, and Donnie kept us unbelievable on the notes, and very glad that we pulled it off. I must say the whole year wasn't on our side, and today, luckily, it was our turn.
So Visser won the battle, but Ladergan's performance throughout the season and the points with the second place finish here at Parys were enough to claim his 2nd consecutive title.
Everything's still settling down. It was stressful event, a stressful last loop. So the nerves are still settling from that. But yeah, no, we didn't have the perfect race, but luckily we had a really good season to wrap up the championship. So really happy about that.
As for Ford, they walked away with the Manufacturers Award, thanks in large part to Prinsloo's win in Class T. Next up, the Toyota Gazoo Racing Vol 400, which took place the next day at the same place on pretty much the same route. So join us next week for the conclusion of the 2020 South African Cross Country Series. This action from the Ford Parys 400 was proudly brought to you by the South African Cross Country Series in association with Toyota Gazoo Racing, Ford, Total Quartz and Pirelli.